Joffrey, Renly, Robb Stark are all thieves. They'll bend the knee or I'll destroy them.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Citadel with me, Grand Maester Stitch, where we're finally returning to the kingdom of Andalia as King Enger Sevenstar, the second of his name, the boy king of 15 years of age, who has only just become king after the recent passing of his father Ambrose I, dying at the age of 52 from too much drinking. He was a raging fat alcoholic towards the end of his life, but here we are now as Enger II, who's a very, very different type of king, as you can see, with a very high intrigue, so it's going to be very interesting to play as him in a very different style of king, as the first two kings, Enger I and Ambrose I, were both very martial-based characters, but this guy, as you can see, is all about that intrigue. He's attractive. We've got 3 child traits still: brooding, willful, idolizer, and rounder. Then we're paranoid, deceitful, arbitrary, and ruthless. So some very, very interesting traits to play around with and see how we get on with those. Our regent so far is the amazing Sir Lister Sevenstar, a very loyal man to the Sevenstars. You can see he's the Master at Arms, Sworn Shield, Captain of the Household Guard, Paramount Knight, and the regent of Andalia. So a very trusted and respectable man throughout the kingdom, especially with the Sevenstars. Now, as you can see, things do look a little bit different, and I want to give a massive shout out to my good friend Chris in the Discord and one of my subscribers who's put in a lot of hard work to help me get this kingdom looking a lot better and a lot more of its own thing, rather than having all of the original sigils like the Baraton sigil and everything like that. We now have our own custom sigils for each house and each region to match the sigils of the actual houses. You can see the Kingdom of Andalia now actually has the 7-pointed star over Sevensport. Oldcastle, the Blooms, now have their custom sigil as the proper lordship sigil. Same goes for the Rose Hearts, and in Whitford with the Jossos, Sevensguard with the Red Guards, Silver Spear with House Silverite, basically everyone, but we'll go through them anyway. We've got the Richards with their golden crown on red in Farthest Ford, Baraton, the House Firehand, we've got the Flaming Hand of Edric Firehand. We go up into Maidensgate, we have the blue 7-pointed star of the blue branch of House Sevenstar. Black Sheep Hills, we have the blue lance on a white background for House Lancer. Warrior's Watch, we have the Morgoth 2 golden hoops on a red background. The Bullseye, we have the brown bull on black for House Hooten. Hornwood, we now have the white moose on blue for House Rack. Wolf's Watch, we have the 7-pointed yellow star of House Salzard. High Point, the white burning candle on a green background for House Brightmire. Obviously the Boltons are as they were, the Boltons. Frosty Shore, we have the red bull on a yellow background for House Oxstar. We have the blue half moon for House Crescent on a black background in the Lunar Wood. And then Greyhold, we obviously have House Greystock with the white wolf on a grey background. The Crannog Men are all the canon houses still, so there's no changes there. Down in the Crossfort, we have the second branch of House Josso with a blue background rather than the orange for those. Crow's Baron, the newly conquered lands in the Vale, we have House Steelheart with the Golden Knight on black. Scorched Vale, we have House Maiden with the Grey Goat on black. Coldwater is House Coldwater still. Snakewood, we have a Vibrant house there for some reason, who worship the old gods. I don't really know what happened there. They were already in charge when we came here. Midlord Point is the Corbury's, obviously, as before. Sunrise Keep, we have House Brightstone, who I've brought in from my House Shell playthrough. I thought it'd be cool to add them there rather than the random house that was there before. Wycliffe, we have House Anvil, one of our own custom houses, with the double swords on a grey and black background. In the Pebble, we have House Rosby, but this is the second branch of House Rosby, if those of you can remember. Enger I's father, Sir Lennox, after his wife died and Enger was well grown up, he married the Rosby Queen and they had a few Rosby children. This is one of those descendants who has been granted the Pebble by Sir Ambrose, King Ambrose, sorry. And then on the Paps, we have House Shell. So yeah, as you can see, for those who may have missed the end of the last season or haven't caught up and they're watching this first, we did expand into the Northern Vale when the Corburys swapped side and helped us fight the Vale when they invaded the north, and we also got the Jossos swearing fealty to us as I think they should really, considering we've got 3 branches of the Jossos. Of course they would swear fealty to us. The north is still in a bit of a mess. The Glovers of the Wolfswood have declared themselves independent. While there are no Starks around, they will only bend to the Starks in the north. And then the north is split between 2 branches of the Flints at the minute, who are fighting over the crown. But, well, not the crown, it's the Lord Paramountcy now, as the Vale owns the north. But the 2 branches of House Flint are fighting over the Paramountcy of the north. But we obviously have all of the remaining Starks in our court, and we will at some point press their claim, as our wife is a Stark. Maybe if we don't press the claim of one of her brothers or cousins, we could always press the claim of our child, who will be half Stark, half Sevenstar. I have sorted out a lot of the border gore. Me and Chris have done that, as well as help from the rest of the creation team, as obviously, as you know, it was the Riverlands and the Vale and the Rock were fine, but then below that it was complete chaos with the Reach and Dawn, who would, I don't even know what happened. You know what these games get like after 50, 60 years with the border gore, but everything is now fixed. We've put a lot of hard work in. There were loads of cannon houses who for some reason had all been unlanded for random houses, so we've sorted that out. So the likes of House Gardner, Hightower, Redwyn, Dane, Tarley, Rowan, all these houses that randomly disappeared, Bracken, are now back, as they were all still around. They were just unlanded for some reason, but they've now got their lands back. We've got the Kingdom of the Rivers and the Hills, ruled over by the last remaining Mud, I think, who is a 14-year-old, and he has converted to the Faith of the Seven, which could make things easier for us to try and get some of that land in the Riverlands if we can get them to swear fealty. Now a nice little shout out crossover to the Rise of House Grand series. We now have the Grandlands here in Blackwater, ruled over by House Grand with the orange fox on blue, and they do have their famous Valyrian steel sword Peacekeeper as well. In the Rock, it's pretty much as it were. They have took some of the Riverlands and some of the Reach, but we have the Lannister Queen there. The Iron Islands are pretty much the same as well. We've got the Greyjoys ruling over them. The Reach has had some bits of land taken away from them, but they are now independent, and it's the random Jogus Knife Florent First Man, which, yeah, don't even ask, I've got no idea, but yeah, he's the ruler of that. Then Dawn, the Ironborn Dawn, is not much left. The Black Tide Prince of Dawn only has a bit of land. The Danes have broken away as the kings of the Red Mountains, so hopefully they take Dawn away from the Ironborn and we get a Dane Dawn. The Fowlers are still independent though, and then in the Stormlands we have the Durandons, who are going strong. They've got most of the land that they would have had normally anyway, so as you were there, it looks like they have taken a bit of Reach land though, maybe. And then a couple of other crossovers that I decided to put in. Over on Dragonstone we have House Vakar, complete with the Valyrian Steel Sword Eruption and the Dragon Doom in their court. Now these ain't going to be playing any part in our series, I just put them in for the fun of it really. Same as on the Iron Islands, we have House Irontide from the Ironborn series. I've just added all the characters from some of my other custom series just for the fun of it, as I said. And then up in Sea Dragon Point we have House Greenskin, the Warg King, as you can see, with all his warging abilities. But yeah, we're not going to really take much notice of those. Right, so we do have one custom character who's new. I promise we will be over with all this soon and we can get into the series again, but I just wanted to catch people up and show the new things that have been implemented. If people want to see a little bit more of all these houses and go into detail of all the families, the family trees, the sigils and other changes around the kingdoms, let me know in the comments down below, and I'm more than willing, with the creation team's help, who will join in the live chat, do a live stream where you can ask what things you want to see in this kingdom and check out characters dead and present and find out a little bit more about the history and lore, along with all the history and lore series that we're doing. We're also working on building a Knights of the North wiki as well in the creation team, so there's going to be a lot of details for all this lore that we've obviously built up over the, how long's it been now, 71 years of Andalia. Now where is this one character? It is here. He is Elwood Jaswell, who is a bard who is currently residing in Sevensport. We've got a gold harp, harp on black. He's got very diplomatic poet skills, sort of thing. Shrewd, he's a poet, a falconer, fashionable, a socializer, the sort of things you'd expect from a bard and a storyteller. He's a scholar. He's trusting and ambitious and all that sort of thing, as you'd expect. But he is the one who, for a lot of the history and lore videos are coming up, he's going to be the narrator of those and a lot of the stories and such. As if we go in our treasury now, for some reason we have ice in there, I'm not really sure why, but we do have a load of custom artifacts, a Septon's Tale, which is a lore and history story written by Dick White, Flowers, Miggs and Albert from the creation team, and yeah, we actually brought this into the game now, but it is a history and lore series. It is on the side that you can find on the channel. We've got The Winds of Time, another story, a book detailing the life of John Whitetree, former leader of the Brotherhood who caused chaos to Andalia. So if you remember the Brotherhood, the Weirwood Brotherhood from King Ambrose's reign that caused havoc all over northern Andalia. We have the reign of Enger Sevenstar, which is obviously the history and lore series that is currently uploaded on the channel now, but here's the book version of it, a book covering the life and reign of King Enger I. The Ancient Technique of Savage Quickness, which is a book for House Rack, a book that teaches a man how to master quickness in thought and motion to end a fight with a single attack, only usable by fighters with at least trained ability. We have Tales of the Northern Sea, a book on the many mystic tales of the Northern Sea and the coast of the north, from dragons to ghost ships. We have the Crown of Andalia, the Crown of Stars, a crown made of opals and mother pearl. It is quite a large thing, so is often only used for coronations, and other crowns were made for practicality. We have Ambrose's crown, a rich band of gold decorated with star patterns and engraved with precious diamonds, currently worn by Enger II until a new crown more fitting for him can be made. And then we have a nice little funny one. We have Max Richard's manhood. Now, if you remember Max Richard, he was the guy, one of many men who was having an affair with Elena Rack, previously Shycross, which resulted in many bastards and a huge shame upon House Rack and Estian, and he was found guilty of his crimes and he was castrated and sent to the wall, and here we have his manhood in a nice little bag. And that's all our new ones. The rest are just ornaments and artifacts that we had before. So right, we can finally get into it. Sorry about that long-winded intro, but there was a lot to cover. But yes, here we go. Let's go as King Enger II, 15. And we're only about 12 days, I believe, away from him coming of age, so he can finally be a king in his own right with no regency. Your wisdom and mercy leisure, I've decided to accept the suggestion of a betrothal between Moribald and Edena. That is a betrothal I made between Moribald Rack, who is the heir, I believe the heir of the Hornwood, yes. So he's going to marry the Corbury daughter, the second daughter of House Corbury. Peace with you, I gladly accept the guardianship contract between Roose and Arena. So Roose Dreadwolf and Arena Greystark, as she was very high intrigue based, I thought Roose Dreadwolf would be the perfect candidate to raise her, and he's also of the old gods as well, so they will be willing to accept, as obviously they don't always like to accept. Oh, and at the age of 2, your niece Arena Greystark died of the dreaded plague. So she literally just died after us just talking about it. Well, that's not good. That leaves the Greystarks without any heirs whatsoever now, so Owen and Princess Violet really need to pop out a kid at some point. She was very impressive as well. Attractive, quick, and green dream, so that is a huge loss for the future of the series. But yeah, as we know, the plague is still ravaging Andalia. The regency for King Enger II of Andalia has ended. Perfect, so we're now a king in our own right. I have finished my educations in the ways of intrigue. It is a fascinating subject. Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. King Enger II of Andalia gains the flamboyant schemer. Perfect. It gives me great joy to admire the achievements of others, especially as I am so weak myself. So we lose the trait Idolizer and gain the trait Craven. Well, that's a shame. While playing with the other children, you seem to favour yourself over the other children. We lose the trait Brooding and gain the trait Selfish. And when you talk other children your age stop and listen, you decide to try and speak in that tone to adults as well. We lose the trait Willful and gain the trait Authoritative. And you have great fun provoking people with rude remarks. Lose the trait Rowdy, gain the trait Rude. But yeah, here, as you can see, the pandemic is still sweeping all over Westeros, but it is slowly fading around Ghoultown where it started, as well as areas in northern Andalia, so hopefully it won't be long before it fully fades. Your Wisdom Mercenary, we offer you the safe release of Jonquil Shell for the modest sum of 10 gold. I don't even know who she is, so I'm going to decline. We need to pick a character focus now. Obviously, we're always martial, so we'll go for an intrigue focus, and I'm going to go for seduction because that's not one that I choose very often. I think that would be quite fun to do. Our ambition at the minute is to have a son, as we desperately need an heir, as our heir at the minute is a Bolton because of our oldest sister being married to a Bolton, obviously. We need to be crowned, but we've got a few other things to sort out first. We've still got the funeral of our father to sort out at some point. Our spy master is currently not doing anything. We'll leave it that way for now because no doubt we're going to have factions and plots plotting up against us as we're a new young king. We do have a liege loyalist faction led by Lord Howman of Oldcastle, Lord Bloom, which is no surprise, they're fiercely loyal, and Lord Josso is also in that. And then the sisters are once again thinking of independence as always. So we'll see what happens fingers there. Peace with you. I gladly accept the guardianship contract between Tayela and Moraire. Okay, so the heir of House Crescent. We're trying to get good guardianships for all these young people. At the age of 35, your subject Jorah Blackmire died of poor health. Queen Janai of the Rock revoked the lordship of Goldshire from Manfred of Goldshire. Okay, doesn't really concern us, but we'll have a look anyway. My liege, peace with you. I gladly accept the guardianship contract between Lord Joa and Mordain. So we're sending Mordain Firehand to Joa Rack. Your wisdom and mercy are legendary. I accept your suggestion that Elwood and Andorra get married. Perfect. At the age of 16, your subject Wyler Blackmire died of the dreaded plague. Peace with you. I gladly accept the guardianship contract between Sir Roderick and Garibold. Another guardianship there. We're sending young Garibold Oxter off to Sir Roderick Snowfall, a great old commander who I'm sure will teach him great things and make a night out of him one day. We are still holding the funeral, as I said, and here we go. It's going to pop up about that now. All the guests have arrived at Sevensport, and it is now time to start the feasting to celebrate the life of King Ambrose Sevenstar. We have got a few other things we need to do. We need to obviously organise our coronation once this is over. We're going to hold a great tourney to celebrate another Roseheart, and we also need to send for a Maester. Lady Randa of Sarsfield refused a revocation of Lordship of Sarsfield requested by Queen Jenny of the Rock, so we're going to have a war down there. Peace with you. I gladly accept the guardianship contract between Oswin and Adrin. So Adrin Bloom is now going to Oswin Steelheart as a squire. Lord Albin of Sandstone refused the revocation of Lordship of Sandstone requested by King Harwin of the Red Mountains. Okay, well, we're keeping an eye on all these characters down south because it's just interesting to see what they're up to. The vassals of Andalia now view you with respect. We can also now make the Empire tier as well. We can found an Empire. Nothing will change. It will literally just give us the bigger status as a bit of a true big kingdom like the rest of the kingdoms that are around us, such as the Rock and the Vale and the rivers and hills. So we will do that once we get the funeral and such out of the way. Now, King Enger does have many friends, which is quite surprising. He's got Rodwell Sevenstar, his cousin. He's got Lord Rodwell of Crow's Baron, Daffin Darkblade, Lord Leopold Snow, the bastard son of Max Richards and Ellen Shycross, Gazoin Ensar, and Samwile Rack, the brother of Joa Rack. Elwood spoke up and told everyone how great the food at my feast was. I was really glad someone was kind enough to say something nice about the food, given how hard I had worked to ensure that food was the best part of the feast. Right, so the bard is doing what bards do best. He's sucking up to the king, no doubt making some sort of story up behind his back. Lord Fian of the Strangers Hills decided to exile Gillian Wolfe. Okay, whoever she is, I don't know who she is, so it doesn't really matter. Clement Mudd has transferred. Okay, everything's happening. Ismoya Corbury, the heir of the Fingers, has died of the dreaded plague. Clement Mudd has transferred the vassalage contract of Sandor Claret to Timon Darklin, and at the age of 39, your subject Bethany Lake died of the dreaded plague. So the Flints are still at war, as we can see. We could press the claim of the Stark, but I don't really want to do it while the plague's spreading. We already need to let our armies recover. There's plenty of time for it later on. We've got more than enough strength to press that claim. The funeral. As the Silent Sisters finish the preparations of the deceased, the body of King Ambrose is brought to the local sept and laid atop the altar at its centre. Canopic jars of ornate design are placed at the feet of the dead, as the oldest child places the death stones upon the closed eyes of the deceased. One by one, those closest to the departed in life make their way into the sept and speak their goodbye, shed their mournful tears, and pray to the Seven for the dead. As the day winds down and the last goodbye is said, the body is carried by kin along the crowd-lined streets to its final resting place. As the sun fades away, a great feast is held, and those who knew the dead recount stories of the life and deeds of the lost, and so it is done. So King Ambrose is finally laid to rest at the age of 52. He was a man and was unyielding in his devotion to their vows, as well as being most fair to look upon. King Ambrose was one of the greatest warriors of his generation, his martial prowess being famed throughout the kingdom. Ambrose wielded a Valyrian steel blade, greatly aiding his ability to protect himself. Ambrose wielded the famous Valyrian steel greatsword Ice. No, he didn't. The ancestral blade of House Stark. No, he didn't. He Mother's Mercy was his sword, but we gained 40 piety for that as well. When the funeral is done, we did need some piety. We've got no piety at all, which is not very surprising considering our traits. So we just need to forward things along now and try and get this plague out of the way. At the age of 20, your subject Barbary Bolton died of the dreaded plague. And oh no! Lord Ronald of the Fingers has inherited High Lordship of the Fingers from Lister Corbury. Okay, so has Lord Corbury died? No, so he's heir to the Lordship of Whitecliff. Why has he lost the fingers? To all my subjects, after listening to the advice of Lord Ronald Shell, I have come to realise I am no longer able to reign as your liege lord. Therefore, I hereby abdicate my lands and titles in favour of my heir, Lord Ronald Shell. I say, no, I don't think so. Lord Ronald of the Fingers has inherited High Lordship of the Fingers. No, we're going to change that. At the age of 71, your bannerman, Lord Roos of Black Sheep Hills, died a natural death. Now, that's devastating. He's the last remaining guy, really, from the early days of Enger's reign, Enger I. Age 71. Wow, he had a long, long life. And look at all those daughters he had. Not a single son. 7 daughters, who most of them have had daughters. It's like the House Mormont of Andalia. And at age 20, your subject Barbary Bolton died of the Dreaded Plague. That was Joe Arak's wife, so he's now going to need to remarry. He has got a son and a daughter, luckily, and then a 3rd daughter who died of the plague. Right, we need to revoke this title from you, the High Lordship of the Fingers. That's not your title to have. We'll wait until the plague's over, though. But yes, House Corbury. Okay, what's happened to Lord Corbury? Sir Lister. Okay, so it's passed to Lady Edena of Midlaw Point, who's married to the Rat. Why? What's happened to Sir Lister? Why is he giving up his lands and titles? What's going on here? We need to sort that out. Something's gone weird there, but we'll sort that out in a moment. I'll sort that out probably when it's time for the mid-POV. Right, let's forward things along and try and get rid of this bloody plague that's ravaging us. Is it? Yeah, it's disappearing a little bit more in the Vale now, so hopefully it won't be too much longer. Lord Ryger of Tumbledon revoked the city of Tumblefin from Arbet. Okay, doesn't really concern us. We still need that Maester, but we can't do anything about it until we open our gates, and I'm not opening the gates until it's time to do so. We do have 1 prisoner. Oh no, it's Winfred Stark, hostage. Known plots. Is there anything against us? It doesn't look like there is, so that's good. Threats. Nothing too major. The sisters, Lord of the Fingers, but yeah, we are going to sort that out. Travellers bring word of fire and blood. I don't care about dragons in the slightest. Got a couple of titles to give away. Designated Regent. We'll give to, wow, Devos, Sir of Sevensguard, really likes us, 100%, wow. But we'll go with our friend Samwell Rack as our Regent for now, until we have somebody else. And what other thing was open up? I think we had some commander roles, didn't we? Yes, let's have a look. Oswin Steelheart, formidable fighter, skilled commander, but didn't really have anything. Then again, he's better than what we have got for the others, so yeah, we'll go with him for now. The other council positions empty? No, they're not. Right, and on pause again. Let's try and forward through this plague quickly. Can't believe that these are all still going to war with each other. The Flints, after disposing the Starks, they've lost most of the north because of it. At the age of 16, your subject Bess died of the dreaded plague. Not really sure who she is, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to leave the plague on so that we can see as it slowly passes away, which it is at the moment. Your Grace, for some time now I have been in the employ of Lord Cosgrove, but now I seek a better station. I humbly request to join you in Sevensport. Let's have a look at you. Skilled fighter, a first man. Interesting. Ambitious roof. How much would it cost to get you? 40. No, I'm going to turn you down. Lord Girin of Orkman, ransom Lady Noshi from the clutches of High King Todrick of the Iron Isles. Okay. Just got to wait for this plague to slowly disappear. Enger Firehand brought a favour from somebody. Sea Dragon Watch has been looted. Okay. I think whilst I'm forwarding things along, we'll take time for the mid-POV, so I hope that you do enjoy. We're going to be going to Sevensport for the point of view of King Enger II, having a look at his new court and council. Enger Sevenstar, second of his name, King of all Andalia, had just turned 16, bringing his short and uneventful regency to an end. Although the bodies still piled up, slowly rotting in the streets of Sevensport below, the amount had been decreasing as of late. The men had only had to step out of the castle to dispose of the bodies half as often as a month's turn ago, surely showing signs of hopefully an end to what had been called the Great Sickness. Nothing of its kind had ever been seen before. Tens of thousands had died all over Andalia, including many high lords and great knights. Not long after the council had made the assumption that the sickness was fading, a letter had arrived from the Fingers, the newest region of Andalia. The Lord Corbury had swore fealty to House Sevenstar, helping them take a huge portion of the Northern Vale. The letter was from Enger's uncle Owen, who had held the command in the Vale, winning a great victory, but because of the pandemic had yet been able to return home to Sevensport. Dear nephew, the sickness in the fingers has passed. Coldwater Burn has also reopened its gates, most of the mountain and vale now being free from the stranger's touch. Lord Corbury has now reopened his port, meaning that by the time you receive this letter I will most likely already be well on my way to Sevensport. I want to thank you for the decision to make me your hand. I would be honoured and will of course accept. I will help you in any way I can to bear your burden and finish your father's and my father's work before him. Your faithful servant and uncle, Sir Owen Sevenstar. After receiving his uncle's letter, Enger had called council with the few lords actually available to him in Sevensport. Enger sat at the head of the table in what had been his father's seat, not that his oath of a father had sat in it for years before his death. To his right sat his close friend Samwile Rack, brother to Lord Joa Rack of the Hornwood, Leopold Snow, the bastard of Sin, the son of the realm's famous scandal involving Max Richard and Elena Shycross, and Donald Stark, the rightful heir of Winterfell. He was of little use and only present as a courtesy and not to offend his lady wife. To his left sat Septon Mark, High Septon of Andalia, his mother Rennie and John Frostfire. The rest of the council seats lay empty. Sir Lister Sevenstar, his personal bodyguard, stood hovered over his shoulder, as vigilant as ever. The man might not have been the sharpest sword in the armoury, but his loyalty to the crown was unquestionable. His presence would be highly useful to Enger if he wished to reign even half as long as his father and grandfather before him. Lord Joa Rack, Master of Coin, Colmer Sunderland, Master of Ships, Grennan Maiden, Master of Laws, the young Davos Redguard and his brother by marriage Owen Greystark had all returned home as the sickness spread to oversee their own land's safety. Soon they would be able to return, although most of these had been his father's men and his mother and regent's choices. Enger didn't trust most of them. They had allowed his father to become what he had become, and surely they would not stand in the way of his own decline. The most ambitious amongst them were no doubt already plotting his downfall. No, he must pick his own council, men of his own choosing and loyal to only him, but that must wait. First he must be crowned. Oh, and also the small matter of his father's funeral. My lords, as I'm sure you're all aware by now, my uncle is expected home any day, he stated. The sickness in the Vale has gone, and as we can see outside our very gates, it seems to be fading here too. He looked around at his council. Which means preparations for my father's funeral, my coronation, and of course the famous Sevensport Roseheart can finally begin. Unfortunately, thanks to his pig of a father, the crown's financial position was in ruin. He'd spent millions of golden stars on developing the frozen wasteland to the north to quell the Weirwood rebellions, almost bankrupting the crown in the process. It disgusted Enger how soft and craven his father was. If he'd have been king, he would have taken a leap out of his grandfather's book. He'd have called the banners and handed command to the late great Lord Edric Firehand to purge the north clean of rebels. As he and his poor excuse for a council worked out how in the Seven Hells they were going to pay for the upcoming events, Enger noticed that Sarah Stark, his wife's cousin and handmaiden, who was acting as the drink servant for the meeting, was repeatedly catching his eye and smiling his way. Whenever she filled up his goblet, she would also lean in close, so she pressed up against him seductively. When Enger had finally finished his disaster of a meeting, he would have asked her if she needed an escort back to her chambers. Okay, my lords, that will be all for today. Once my uncle returns, we shall call council again. You have my leave. One by one, they got up and left, Leopold lingering long enough to give him a wink as he bowed mockingly and exited the room backwards. Lady Stark, may I give you the honour of escorting you back to your chambers? The king asked, a charming smile upon his face. Of course, your grace, I am yours to command. She bowed, that same smile spreading upon her face. Okay guys, I'm back from the mid POV. I hope that you did enjoy. I know a lot of you do enjoy those, and the plague has now left the area around Sevensport. We will leave it a little bit longer before we open the gates, and I actually didn't have to do anything with House Corbury because the Lord Shell of the Paps died and Lord Lister was his heir, so he straight away inherited the Paps, who he now rules over. For some reason he needs something better than that, so he's now the new High Lord of the Fingers yet again, and his daughter owns Midlore Point, so we have two House Corburys now ruling in the Fingers, so okay, whatever, but this one will probably, her and her husband are Racks, so we probably need to do something about that, as it should be a Corbury really running that, but we could always have a second branch of House Rack, a mix of House Corbury. It could be quite interesting down in the Vale with a very different, maybe we could have a different coloured moose on a different background. We'll see as we go forward and see what you guys want, but there we go. The plague is slowly disappearing. Westeros ravaged by plague. Panic is rising as the great sickness reaches its victims across Westeros. Small folk and lords alike have gathered in the septs to pray for mercy from their gods, and even the ancient old town has become littered with corpses. Many fear that the taint is sent by the gods as punishment for the people's sins. When will it end? Well, hopefully soon by the looks of it. Can't wait to get it out of the way, as it's flipping been going on now for God knows how many years, and we really need to move forward and get on with stuff. Okay, we've got a new faction, Princess Violet for Andalia. Now, I didn't think it would be long before we started getting stuff like this, as obviously a lot of people do dislike us. Violet, the wife of Lord Greystark, is very... Oh, wow, she's pregnant in hiding, so she must be ready to pop any day, which is good considering she just lost her daughter. Yes, in the final months of pregnancy, but yes, as you can see, she's very good diplomatically, very loved throughout the Seven Kingdoms, and for a long time it looked like she was going to be Ambrose's heir, because it was a long time before he had a son. But yeah, Enger did eventually come along. As you can see, she's 12 years older than him, so... Right, is it safe, do we think, to open the gates now? I think once it gets out of those racklands, we will open the gates. It's still ravaging the North Vale, as we can see. But yes, once it spreads out of here, we will lift it. Okay, betrothed can marry. Propose that Donald and Lysara get married. Lysara Bolton and Donald Stark, who is the rightful Stark in the North. Yes, we will accept that. Oh god, at age 0, your niece Sarah Greystark died stillborn. Wow, my god, Violet and Owen really aren't having the best of luck with children. 2 stillborns, and the one who does survive dies of the plague. It looks like House Greystark are destined to go extinct. We really need to hope that they do get some more children. Grand Maiden is now known as the Handsome. A message about arranged marriage. May you live in harmony and contentment. We propose that Larissa Bolton and Donald Stark marry. Yes, I've already accepted this. Larissa Bolton arrives at your court. Right, how's the epidemic? Has it disappeared anymore yet? No, I just want to wait for it to get out of these racklands so it's far enough away, as that's adjoining 7th Port. I don't want to open the gates yet. At the age of 22, your bannerman, Lord Wilbert of Warriors Watch, died of the dreaded plague. So who has Warriors Watch now? Lord Rawny of Warriors Watch, a Josso, 10 years old, so... Okay, he must have been his son, but we need to get this back to the Morgoths. There is now a Morgoth around, so we will sort that out off screen when I do a little bit of fixing and stuff, as the game doesn't like letting you do stuff like that. Because the AI is stupid. Word is going around that since the epidemic came to Sevensport, we have seen an increase in cats. Our people are sure that the cats are helping spread the disease. Gather some cats for examination. No, the cats are not to blame. They'll be getting rid of the rats, and we're not spending money. We need that money. Winfred asks, how can I best serve the faith of the Seven? Faith, yes, Winfred Stark did convert to the faith of the Seven. Be brave against our enemies. She gains the trait brave. Be just to all its children. We'll go with just or brave. What's she? Okay, she's pretty good at martial, so let's go with brave. So Winfred seems to have no fears at all. She has gained the brave trait. Perfect. Has the epidemic left yet so that we can finally open the gate? No, it's still in the Black Sheep Hills, which is a very poor region. While we're waiting, do you know what? We will found the Empire. Your achievement in founding the Kingdom of Andalia means the bloodline of House Sevenstar is now highly... Yeah, this was all the same as before. Nothing really changes there. But there we go. We now have the nice, proper Empire tier sigil, the same as the Vale, the Rock, and the Riverlands and such. Enger Firehand brought a new favour. God, he's buying a lot of favours. News from... yeah, I don't care about what the dragons are up to. We came here to get away from them. At the age of 23, your bannerman, Lord Dywin of Silverspear, died of the dreaded plague. So who is now the new Lord? Garibold Silverspear. Okay, so it's still another Silver Eye who has inherited that land, but he hasn't got any children either, so he needs to hurry up and pop some out, as we'll have another extinct house on our hands. This plague is literally killing everybody. Still hasn't left the Racklands. Hi, King Enger. After listening to the advice of a group of bannermen led by Lady Milena Crescent of Lunar Woods, I hereby enact a series of laws empowering my council to act and vote on matters pertaining to the governments of the High Lordship of the Great Cliffs. Actually, we needed to... Okay, there's no factions now. All the factions have disappeared. Interesting. Considering there was 3 a moment ago, why have they all suddenly disappeared? Jenna Lannister has had the life of the Triarch Bellatrix removed from her court. Your Grace Jenny Lannister has been defeated. Her reign of misrule has come to an end, and stability has been brought to Castle Rock. King Tywin II Lannister, for her heir, shall henceforth rule the Rock as king. Okay, interesting. Jorin Redguard died of an infected wound. Okay, he wasn't Lord Redguard, which is good because he's a formidable fighter and a brilliant steward, so we don't want to lose him. He's pretty decent, to be fair. Still hasn't left the Black Sheep Hills. There was something I was about to do, and now I can't remember what it was. Do you know what? Should we just risk opening the gates? We need to get these gates open. Oh, and the colours change now that we're in Empire tier, which is interesting. We do need to get the gates open. That I remember what I was going to do now. That was it. I want to see if we can form non-aggression pacts with all the other High Lords, which I think we can, yes. Offer a non-aggression pact to Enger Firehand, the Lord of the Farthest Fields. Who else can we offer a non-aggression pact to? House Bloom. What about Josso? No. What about Roseheart? No. House Corbury, maybe? Can we offer a non-aggression pact with you? No. Garin Maiden? No. Maybe you, because you are our friend? No. What about Lord Coldwater? No. The Reeds? I want to try and get them with as many High Lords as we can. No. What about the Sisters? Lord Sunderland? No. Lord Rack? Can we offer you a non-aggression pact? No, we can't offer you one either. House Bolton? Yes, we can offer a non-aggression pact with you. Perfect. And House Greystark? We should be, considering you're married to our sister. Yes, perfect. So, at least if we get the Firehands, the Boltons and the Greystarks, that's 3 of the strongest kingdoms who will be entered into non-aggression pacts with us, which will help us massively. Right, Epidemic has it. No, it's still not left there. A daughter was born to Barry Swanson and Tiana of Highgarden and named Janny Maiden. Oh, it's a bastard. Interesting. A bastard of Lord Maiden. Peace be with you, I, Lord Theon of the Strangers Hills, accept your proposal for a non-aggression pact. Perfect. Hopefully they'll accept the other ones as well as we move forward. Let's forward things on. I just want that to literally disappear from here. Peace be with you, I accept the proposal. Firehand accept. And so does Lord Greystark. Rosamund Sevenstar has arrived at your court. She was the one married to Lord Silvereye, so she's only 17. She did have one daughter, but she's widowed still, so we can't marry her off yet. Is she our sister? Our cousin, right. So at least we do have a 7-star princess of age who we can marriage off and try and do some sort of political bargaining with someone. Peace with you, I, Lord Harmon of Oldcastle, accept your proposal for a non-aggression pact. Now, our aims going forward, we are going to try and take the Vale. We've got as much of the north as we want. We'll get the Starks in this as Lord Paramounts under us. King Timon the Black has declared Reachman Blackwater Bay de jure war over Tumbleton on King Ben Grand of the Grandlands. Interesting. At age 28, your bannerman Lord Garibaldi Silverhide died of the dreaded plague. That happened ages ago, didn't it? Or has he died as well? Oh no, he's died as well now. So now it passes to a 12-year-old Lord Peter Silvereye. Wow, the Silvereyes are dropping like flies from this plague. But yes, as we were spurned as a child several times by the Vale. We was offered several times to the Vale in marriage, and every time the Mad Queen of the Vale turned us down, as well as our sisters, as well as loads of other alliances. So High King Enger's going to have a bit of a grudge against the Vale and want to get revenge on that bitch of a queen from there. Complaints about the cats will not end. An angry mob has gathered, claiming that cats are the bringers of bad luck and cannot be allowed to roam the streets. Cats seem mostly healthy. Try your best to explain. Get rid of all the cats. This is absurd. Go home. We'll soon be lifting the lockdown going on. It's like in the real world at the moment, isn't it? Wow, a fleet bearing some loot returned from raiding. High King Todrick of the Iron Island gained 300 gold almost. Wow, where the hell did he raid? As long as he stays away from our coast. We could do with building a fleet on our west coast now that we're over here, just to avoid the raiding that the Ironborn do. It's mostly gone in the Vale now. We're just waiting for that Rack one to disappear, and then I'll open the gates and we can plan our coronation and tourney. At the age of 47, your subject Danessa Rack died a natural death. Who was she? She was married to Lord Halman Bloom. My mother, Empress Dowager Rennie, has been mourning the loss of her late husband for over a year now, and is still reluctant to get remarried. Perhaps I should command her to stop this and marry a match for my choosing. Stop this nonsense, girl. Let her grieve in peace. Enger didn't love his father Ambrose, but he has great love for his mother Rennie, as well as his sisters. Hated his father. Lots of daddy issues is probably why he's going to go a bit... Well, it's probably why he's got all these bad traits that he's got, because he's got daddy issues like many people in history. Right, let's get rid of that horrible beard. Let's try and make you look a little bit better. You're meant to be a flipping handsome chap. Let's go for the clean shaven, I think. We'll get some nicer hair as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. We're clean shaven. What hair should we go for? I'm thinking I may go for the hair of what Enger I had, that nice warrior man bun. Where is it? There we go. Let's go for the same one as Enger I. A son was born to Samwile Rack and Morella Snow, named Horace Rack. Okay, cool. He's had a child. That's pretty cool. Let's choose a struggle focus for him. A son was born. Yeah, perfect. Right, let's forward along, get rid of the plague so that we can finally get on with stuff. Lady Lalessa of Greenshield has declared war against the tyranny of King Timon the Black. Okay. After a few months of chatter about cats, it appears as if the common people are now focusing on other things. What a relief. Typical small folk. When is it going to disappear from here? It is taking forever. Your Grace, for some time now I have been in the employ of Sir Davos, but now I seek a better station. Septon Tyler. Okay, you're pretty good, but I like... I don't know, what do you actually want to do? You want to be our diplomat? Really? Or Master of Laws? No, you're quite a good Septon, but you're not becoming our Master of Laws. We've got a good Master of Laws already. Did that just say he had the Great Sickness? No, he's ill from something else. Okay, that's not too bad then. Enger Firehand has now called in another favour. Enger Sevenstar is now known as the Uncaring. King Enger the Uncaring of Andalia. Okay. Not the worst nickname, but it's not the best nickname, is it? And there we go, it's finally left the Black Sheep Hills. So let's open our gates after years of being closed. I dread to think how much that's affected our economy. There we go, we'll send for a Maester of the Citadel first and foremost, and then we'll plan our coronation soon. I want to make sure we've got enough money to also be able to host a tourney and feast with our coronation. I'm starting to think that Sarah might fancy me. Sarah Stark, our courtier, who was married to Sir Cregan. Let's make a move then. Why not? We are lustful. We've got the seduction focus. I went to Sarah's chambers and I gave her a good tumble. So we now have a lover who I think is our wife's cousin. So that's not awkward at all, is it? It's good to be the High King. Enger falls in love with Sarah. Oh, wow, he's actually fell in love with her. Interesting. Okay, so that's one mistress on the side. We could play it very cool with this king. Your Grace, the Maester we sent from the Citadel has arrived in Sevensport, a first man by the name of Arlen. Let us hope he is loyal and wise. Dutiful academic, a Maester, astronomer, shy, craven and cruel. Not the best, but he'll do, I suppose. Let's carry on forwarding things along. Let this epidemic finally leave our shores. It's taken a hell of a long time to go away, but hopefully it won't be much longer before it does. Aha, there we go. At age 51, your bannerman Lord Arlen of Frosty Shore died from too much drinking. Oh no, Lord Arlen Oxter has died from too much drinking. And his... Oh, he did have another daughter though before he died, but his son, Lord Harstin of Frosty Shore, has replaced him. Who is his educator? Master Illifer. Can we get you a better guardian? Someone with some decent martial. Sir Lister? Yes, let's go with Sir Lister. Send. Travellers bring rumours of fire. I do not care about the dragons. Right, but at least now the epidemic has left our shores. Is it still in the south? Yep, there's still patches of it down in the south, but we are finally free from it. Right, let's organise our coronation ceremony finally. The time has finally come for me to be officially recognised as High King of Andalia. In order to do this, I would need the support of the faith, but convincing authoritative members will neither be easy nor cheap. To begin the preparations, I should find a priest willing to crown me. Send for the most powerful Septon in the realm, which is Septon Mark, of course. No one else will be worthy. We want the highest Septon. We'll host a great tourney after this as well as a feast. Have we got any dangerous factions? Independents from the Sisters, Crown Loyalists, so not too bad. Have we got any plots? I know that we can turn auto plots off. I don't like to do that. I like to see if we can... I like to roleplay it and see if we can stop them if they do happen. If we get assassinated, we get assassinated. We go to a different king. May live in harmony contentment. I gladly accept the guardianship contract between Sir Lister and Lord Harston. Good. So hopefully he'll raise him well. But hopefully now the kingdom can slowly recover and our army and economy can recover. To the excellent King, High King Enger II of Andalia, I shall be honoured to officiate His Grace's coronation. I eagerly await His Grace's instructions regarding date and manner of the ceremony in order to better prepare myself for this sacred duty. Marvellous. Now that I have found a faith of the 7 priests willing to crown me, I must decide how much I wish to spend on the ceremony leading up to it. It shall be an extravagant ceremony, a dignified ceremony, it'll be a private... No, we'll go for an extravagant ceremony. We'll soon get ourselves out of debt as Andalia is exceedingly rich. But we'll end the episode here and save the coronation and moving forward with the reign for the next episode. I really do hope that you guys have enjoyed. Oh, Your Grace, I'm afraid I have to decline the invitation. Okay, I don't even know who you are, but whatever. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the first episode back of the newly titled The Knights of Andalia. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment down below and subscribe. Let me know if you do want to have the live stream where we can go over the realm in a bit more detail. Don't forget to check out the history and lore videos as well if you're really into this series, and hopefully I'll see you all very soon for the next episode or one of my other videos. Having now completed all the plans for his extravagant coronation and feast that was to come, as well as setting in place all the details for the Sevensport Roseheart that was to follow, Enger now had more ambitious plans to discuss. Once crowned, it would be time for him to make a name for himself and show what sort of king he intended to be. He called for a private audience in his chambers with his most trusted advisors to discuss and plan out the details of what would be his first conquest. His uncle and Hand Owen Sevenstar was the first to arrive, shortly followed by John Frostfire and Samwell Rack. Finally, frustratingly late, Leopold Snow arrived. "You're late, Leo," the king said, his annoyance clearly showing through his tone. "I do apologise, your grace," said Leopold, his usual grin plastered across his face. His uncle frowned, clearly showing his distaste in his nephew's choice of confidence. "Now that you're all here, I want to inform you of my first planned conquest as king," he said. "Once our armies are more recovered, we will be marching on to Winterfell to press my good brother's claim upon the Kingdom of the North. Donald will lead the force himself, accompanied by you, uncle." "Aye, as you command, nephew. But I must ask, is this really important? The kingdom aim for some time now has been southern lands," Owen stated curiously. "And so it is, dear uncle," Enger smiled. "But to go south we must first go north. Should an army march on Winterfell led by the true heir of the North, the first men will surely rise to back him. The Northmen are loyal if nothing else. The Glovers, Umbers, Risewells and Hill tribes long for a return for their precious Starks, and I shall give it to them." Enger's grin grew larger. "You will once again though be making a united North that could one day become a threat to Andalia?" asked Samwell, confused. John Frostfire smiled too now. "The king will be effectively doubling the size of Andalia and halving the Vale's strength, Sir Rack," he said. "How so?" asked Leopold, leaning forward in interest. "My dear brother by marriage will be the king in the north, and he will have me to thank for it. He will forever be in my debt. I will own him and his army. They will come to our aid whenever called upon. They will be my puppet kingdom to use as I see fit." Enger's smile grew so big now it looked almost painful. "And what if King Donald should forget his debt to you and grow ambitious for rebuilding the old northern kingdom?" his uncle asked, although he surely already knew the answer to that. "If my dear brother should forget, uncle, which I'm sure he will not, then well, I still have many of his kin here in Sevensport. Should he forget his place and step out of line, heads surely roll, and my eventual son by his sister will be placed as Lord of Winterfell and Protector of the North," said Enger. "The way I see it, my lords, we win either way."